All right, so we got service traction control, that light on, the ABS light on, and service Stabilitrak came on a couple days ago. Let's see what we got. Let's go try to fix the problem or service the problem. Okay, guys, got both wheels off, jack stands. We're gonna remove this plug from the connector for this side wheel speed sensor. Then we're gonna do the other side. We're gonna test both sides. Also about the back, just in case they're bad or not. But I want to note there's two types of speed sensors, passive and active. This vehicle is equipped with a passive wheel speed sensor, and I'll show you guys in the manual, in the book, that's what it says. Well, it doesn't specify that it's a passive, but how it functions shows me that it's a passive wheel speed sensor in this vehicle. You need to know those things before doing these type of tests. So we're gonna remove this plug from the connector and connect it to multimeter, test for volts, alternating current, to see if we get some movement when the wheel spins. We'll spin the hub to see if we can get some movement there. That doesn't necessarily mean that the speed sensor is bad. You can have a bad hub bearing, but when those tend to go bad, you will hear some noise. They become annoying. You hear some roaring come from them, and it becomes worse and worse and worse until ultimately they'll seize up. Oh, by the way, I've used some WD-40 on this retainer bolt, this rotor retainer bolt. I'm not going to remove the caliper from the caliper bracket. Just remove the entire caliper bracket and move it out of our way so we can pull this rotor off and change the wheel sensor if it's bad. You want to note that. So I've already sprayed everything down with WD-40. Okay, guys, so let's test this side first, because this is actually a new hub bearing on this side. It don't look like it from this rusted. Also got videos on all this stuff on the channel. New hub bearings, new rotors for this specific vehicle. New rotors, brakes, all of that stuff. Front and back, extreme detail videos. And yeah, we're gonna see if we're getting some kind of reading. So I gotta get something that'll go in here, because the alligator clips I got won't fit. So I gotta put some wire in here or something to see if we can get some kind of reading. And let me show you guys the book before we test this, to show you what it's saying about the wheel speed sensors in this specific vehicle. I want to make sure we keep that in mind, that these are passive wheel speed sensors, not active. Active speed sensors require voltage. Opposed to these creates alternating current through the reluctant ring or tone ring when you rotate the wheel. When the wheel is rotating, there's a magnetic induction between the tone ring and the wheel speed sensor, hence giving off low voltage signal. So I got me two wires stuck in here. Make sure they're not touching, and now I can hook those up to the probe. Make sure I'm zoomed in on the meter itself. Let me zoom out some. I'll zoom in like that. You guys can see me spinning the wheel. I don't have the tire on, so I can only spin it so fast. Of course, the faster you spin this, the faster it spins, the higher the number will read. So I'll get some spins on to show you guys if we're reading anything or not. Guys, I paused the video here because I knew instantly after those first two turns that I should have got a higher reading. I've done this so many times. I should have got a higher reading out that sensor, and I knew this was my problem out the gate. And this sensor is fairly new. I just changed the hub not too long ago. It's an aftermarket hub. It wasn't an OEM one, but I knew something was there. So let's get to the other side and see if we're getting some reading there. Before we go to the other side, I just want to show you guys the book real quick. This is the book for this particular vehicle. It tells you everything about it, and I'm going to show you how you know, or how I knew that this was a passive wheel speed sensor on this vehicle. So here's the automotive manual for this Suburban. Shows you the traction control system, the Stabilitrak system, and the wheel speed sensors. If you look right there, it tells you there's a wheel speed sensor designated for each wheel. it says generally, but it doesn't say anything further after that. It says each sensor generates a signal in form of a low voltage current or frequency when the wheel is turning, a variable signal as generated from the square tooth ring or the reluctor. That's what they're talking about. All this on here. It says the tone ring exciter that rotates very close to the sensor. The signal is directly proportional to the wheel speed and is interpreted by an electronic module or the computer. It says the front sensors are mounted to the hub and wheel bearing assemblies, and the tone ring are integrated within the assemblies. We know that. And the rear sensors are mounted to the rear axle housing. Tone rings are integrated with the rear axle shafts. So here's both rear wheel speed sensors, model numbers, and here are both of the front. So let's test the passenger side right now. See if we get anything. I paused it right here because it don't take much. I knew after the first turn, let alone the first couple of turns, that this sensor was reading good. As you can see, the numbers were climbing. The faster I can turn that thing, the higher the numbers will climb. So we got a bad wheel speed sensor on the driver's side. However, I'm going to change all four of them. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to replace the rear ones and the front ones. So let's change out the bad one first, go for a drive, then we'll change out the rest of them. Okay, guys. I'm going to replace both of the fronts just because I have it, but this one's reading good. So the driver's side is not reading good. Just sprayed it with some WD-40. Sprayed all the parts and take off the brake. The caliper brackets, I'm just going to remove the whole entire caliper bracket over to the side so I can pull the rotors off. This whole screw for the rotors. It's a Torx T30. Caliper bracket bolts are 18 millimeter. That's one. That's the other. So we're going to zip through this really quick. And these sensors, sometimes they be stuck in the hub. And I just replaced this hub. This is an aftermarket hub, so it's funny that this one's reading bad and the ones that was in here when the vehicle was made still reading good. So let's swap it out and see what we got really quick. Torx T30. So now let's install the new one. I'm using some oil, just some regular motor oil, to lube the O-ring up and the tip of that sensor so it can just slide through the housing. I also use some brake cleaner to clean inside that port where the speed sensor goes, and just to make sure it's free of debris. But pretty simple installation. Here I'm using little anti-seize to put on the tip of that bolt, so in the event I have to replace the speed sensor again, the bolt won't have a problem coming out. I also use it on the retainer bolt that holds the rotor to the hub to keep it in place. So put some anti-seize on that as well, because they become stubborn over time, and sometimes you have to use the torch to get them out, or they strip out. So put some anti-seize on them. You'll never have to worry about them seizing up into that hub bearing in case you have to move the rotors. Here's the torque specs right here. 129 foot-pounds. So let me torque this down, put the wheel back on, and we're gonna take it for a drive and see. I put the passenger wheel back on. I want to test it before I change that sensor out, even though I'm gonna replace it anyway. I want to note, when you start the vehicle up, when you first start the vehicle up after this fixed, the lights will not go off. Don't expect the ABS traction light or Stabilitrak light to be off. This is a passive sensor, so it has to read the wheel speed as the wheel rotate in order for the system to register and turn those warning or error codes off or error lights off. And that's the case with pretty much everyone I've ever dealt with. And as you'll see right now, we're gonna do it right now. Just start the vehicle up, and as you can see, the lights are still on. So let's go take it for a spin. As soon as I pulled from off the house, guys, thought I was recording. It started to read, and the light went right off as soon as I pulled off. So the only issue I'm having now is service airbag, as you guys can see. The TPS light, the tire pressure monitor light went off, but it's gonna pop back on because I have a couple bad TPMS sensors they gotta replace. But yeah, we're off right now. I'm gonna schedule that service airbag. I'm also gonna put the link to the bulletin for that service airbag. It's a free recall. I just gotta schedule it. I'm getting them mailed once a week or once every 2 weeks from Chevrolet for me to get this problem fixed. So they're very adamant about servicing that airbag. So schedule your airbag for an appointment if you have not gotten that taken care of. And we're scheduling one day this week. You can stop the video here if you don't want to see me replace the rear wheel speed sensors. I bought all four, so I'm going to replace the rear ones. I'll show you both locations where the rear ones are located, and I'll show you in detail how to replace one of the rear ones so you can get an idea how to replace the other ones. Just as I did the front driver's side, you can change the passenger side the exact same way in the front as I did the driver's side. So I didn't have to show both sides. So I'll do one side of the wheel speed sensor, but I'll show you guys both locations of both of them, so you can replace them. Also, I'll put the link in the description box for all 4 wheel speed sensors. They sell them in a set. There's some aftermarket ones. They may go bad in the future, but they'll do for right now. Alright, we're jacked up in there. Both wheels are off. So here's the rear wheel speed cylinder. It mounts there, and it's right there. Let me show you guys. It's tucked under here. You gotta kind of reach in here and grab the plug somehow. Can I see the muffler? Look at what side I'm on. Here it is right here. Okay guys, I just pulled the back one through. Thought I was filming. Look at that rear shocks. I'm also getting the air ride suspension, one light every so often, and I see why. I'm going to replace both rear air ride shocks, so stay tuned for that video, coming soon. I really got to get another camera because this ain't gonna work. It's right here. This one actually comes forward. There's a plane in the harness, so it's right in the same location, sitting right there on top of the frame. And just pull it forward. Alright, so here's the sensor. In a lot of cases I've dealt with these sensors, they become seized inside of that axle housing, and you have to drill them out or pick them out, pick the plastic out. So just a Torx T30. I've already had one ready for the front. Let's spread the other side while we're working on this side. Hopefully we can twist those out. All right, so we're done with this side. I'm not gonna film the other side, even though the sun is still shining and it's a better view from the other side. Let me pop this piece back in. My camera seems to get extremely hot in the sun and shuts off. It's about 80 degrees today, and the sun is beaming. So, and I don't want any sun glare. I want you guys to see everything. So I'd rather use light on this side and show you guys the details on this side. I do want to note a couple things. When you're removing the sensor from that axle housing, you want to twist it. You want to spray some WD-40 and continuously twist it, rock it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth with some pliers or some channel locks or some needle nose pliers. Just go back and forth with it multiple times, like you've seen I did, until you feel it break loose from inside there. If you try to force this out, that tip is going to break off inside the axle housing, and then you're going to have to pick it out somehow. So let me do the other side. Okay, guys, I'm done. We got all back perfect. Everything is back installed. I gotta pop that plastic screw in or retainer in. Perfect there. So let me put the wheels back on, remove the jack stands. Back here.